Welcome to how to sweep a hole in on a manual mill. This tutorial will apply to a CNC and also an outer diameter hole. We will now be putting our Indicall on, if you haven't already, and the very first thing you want to do is eyeball two different axes, because when it comes to sweeping in a hole, you're going to worry about 4 points. The 2 points in X, which is going to be the left quadrant and the right quadrant of your hole, and your 2 points in Y, which are going to be your front quadrant and your back quadrant. Everything else you can ignore. So you're just worrying about getting your 0 to read on all 4 points. First thing I like to do is put my indicator in there and eyeball where 0, 0 is. So I'm just going to move to where when I sweep around, my indicator looks like it's about the same spot all the way around. Alright, the very next task is going to be getting one direction, one axis indicated in. I personally like to do X. You can do Y, it really doesn't matter. But you're going to zero out your indicator on one quadrant and you're going to go 180 to that quadrant. Looks like I'm about 1/15 thou off, so I'm going to move half of that distance. So to confirm, I'm at 15. So I need to move half of the distance that I'm off. And then I'm going to re-zero it out, and we're just roughly getting where we need to be. So that's at 0, that's at 0. So whenever you're working in the same axis, you want to move half of the distance that it's off. So if I'm off 10 thou on this right side and it was 0 on the left side, I'm going to move 5 thou in order to get it 0 on both sides. Now that I have two quadrants worked in on 0, I'm going to move to my third quadrant in Y and go straight to 0. I'm not going to move half. Just going to go straight to 0. Now it's reading 0 on the left side, 0 on the front, and +5 on the right. So now that I'm within about 5 thou, I'm just going to repeat the same process in X. So I'm going to move roughly 2.5 thou. Re-zero it out. And if your table's locked, loosen it a little bit in case it's moving a little bit too much. Just make sure you're nice and loose. Alright, so now I'm 0 on the right. I'm 0 on the left. And I'm about -2 on the Y. So I'm going to go straight to my 0 again. So now I'm 0 on the front, I'm +5/10 on the right, I'm 0 on the back, and I'm -5/10 on the right. So now I'm going to move straight to my 0 in X, about right there. So I'm within about 5/10. Now I'm within a couple tenths. So from that point you can zero out your X and Y. Again, remember, just to kind of summary, make sure that your piece is flat. So you want to indicate across the top of your piece to ensure that you're flat after clamping it. Then what you want to do is roughly sweep it in. So stay above your part and just eyeball by sweeping in your part without actually touching your part. So you're just going to roughly guess where 0, 0 is by keep rotating the part and moving your X and Y until your indicator looks like it's equal spacing all the way around. Then you are going to touch your part with your indicator, zero it out, and zero it out in two different axes, or the same axis. So for instance, I picked X, so my left and right I got 0. And then at the very end I went straight to my third quadrant in Y and went straight to 0. On the same axis, if you're off 10 thou, let's say you're 0 on the left, 10 thou off on the right, you want to move 5 thou in order to place it in the center. Then when you move to your third quadrant, you go straight to 0, and from there you repeat the same process until you read 0 all the way around. This takes a little bit of practice, but after you do it 10 or so times, you'll have it under control. And again, this works the same if I was trying to sweep the outer diameter. And if it's really frustrating and you're not able to get it the first try, what I would suggest is backing off and re-eyeballing where 0, 0 would be, and that should be able to get you where you need to be. Because a lot of people, they'll sit there and they'll struggle because they'll try to pick up the same axis like I did, and their Y is extremely off. And when your Y is extremely off, then picking up one axis is going to be hard, because as you sweep around, let's say this Y was exaggerated, the part was way too far back, then it's going to push the tip of your indicator and it's going to move your indicator, and then by the time you get 180 degrees to the X, your indicator's moved. So you want to be roughly eyeballed within 30 thou or so. And then repeat the same process over and over until you get the desired dimension that you want. So I wouldn't spend an hour and a half trying to indicate something in if it had a plus 5 thou minus nothing tolerance. If it needs to be within a few tenths, you need to get a tenth indicator to do this process. But if you need to be within a thou, you can use your regular indicator. You can also use an edge finder, but by the time you actually edge find something, you can have it swept in with an indicator.